So welcome back students in this video of Monster Technology. Now in the previous lecture we have discussed about the JavaScript functions and events. In this video we will discuss about JavaScript control statement. So in JavaScript a control statement is a kind of statement which can be used to manipulate or control the default flow of program of the JavaScript. The default flow of program will work like upside down. For example, if in the JavaScript you have written 10 line of code, so the first line will be executed at the first place, followed by the second, followed by the third, and so on. So we have a conditional statement, we have a looping statement, and we have a jump statement. In this video, we'll focus on the conditional statement. So let's suppose you have a variable or you have a kind of data and you want to put any kind of condition on that particular data. So let's say you have two statements and you want to run only one out of them. So you have to put some kind of conditions over there, that in which case the first will execute and in the which situations the second will execute. So the situation, that condition is defined with the help of the conditional statements like if, else and switch statement. Now let's understand this concept more with the practical part. Now in the script code we'll write a function. I'll name this function as check and let's add a button over here to invoke that one. So we'll write down, so I'll write on click and name of my function is check. So I'll write down check over here. Now to check the event I have take the input. So we'll write down var name and var age. For var name we'll write down document dot get element by id and the name of like this. Now I have to put the id which is name with the case of name and age. Now let's write down document dot write welcome name. Now with the help of this age we want to check whether the person is eligible for a driving license or not. And as per Indian government rules, we have a age limit of 18. So if the person is equals to 18 or greater than 18, it is eligible. He is eligible. And if the age is less than 18 years, then we will say he is not eligible. So we will write down, we have particularly two situations. So let's first of all write down this. So we have two conditions right now. In first, the person is eligible and the second person is not eligible. So we will write down the first control statement which is if statement. So we'll write down if the age is greater than or equals to. So here we use the comparison operator greater than equals to. So if the age is greater than equals to 18, we'll write down you are eligible. We'll write down you are eligible. Other than that, if age is less than 18, then we'll write down you are not eligible. Now first of all we'll check the output of this code and then I'll optimize this with the correct code. This is actually not the perfect code for that, or we can see the not the optimized code for that. So let's check it out. So my name is Kuldeep and let's say my age is 25. So we'll click and the output is welcome Kuldeep Sharma in this JS code and it will say you are eligible. So this is the output of our conditional statement. Now let's refresh this and check Kuldeep Sharma and the age is let's say 10. Click welcome Kuldeep Sharma in this JS code and the output says you are not eligible. So here our conditional statement is working. But when we have only two conditions and both the conditions are interrelated, so either this or either that. So in this particular cases, we don't have to check both the situations separately in two different if blocks. In that case, we can simply add the second condition in the else block. So if this condition gives me the output true, then automatically this line will execute and this else part will not execute. Now if the condition gives me the output false, then automatically this if part got skipped and the else part got executed. Now, when we have only two statements, two conditions, and the both conditions are interrelated, then we use the if-else statement. Now, what if we have multiple conditions or the conditions are not interrelated? For example, let's say if I want to take the input, let me just change the code. The ID of this input is num. So we'll take the num and let me store this to not name. Now, if I want to check whether the number is positive number or a negative number, so I'll just simply write down a if. So I'll write down if the number is greater than equals to 0. So any number which is greater than 0 or equals to 0, we can say just simply it is a positive number. So we'll write down document the number is a positive number. And on the other hand, if the number is not greater than 0, so we'll write down else the number is a negative number. So if I take 12 and click to check, the number is positive number, it gives me the number is positive number. Now if I enter 0, it gives me the number is positive number. If I enter minus of something, let's say minus 34, the output is the number is negative number. So in this particular case, when we have only two conditions and both the conditions are interrelated, the if-else situation will work perfectly. But what if there is a third condition? So the user want to just identify whether the number is positive, negative or 0. So there is a third condition which is equals to 0. For that we'll have to write down a third block. So we'll write down else if block over here. This is also known as ladder if. And in this else if block we have to mention the third situation. So for example, if the number is greater than 0, we'll just remove this equals to part and we'll only use the greater than operator. So if the number is greater than 0, we'll count it as the positive number. If the number is equals to 0, so we'll write down, if equals to 0, we'll write down document.write the number is we'll say 0, and else the number is a negative number. So either the number is positive or it can be 0 or it can be negative. So this is how a ladder if statement works. So you can put as many as you want. Positive, it shows me the output positive. 45, it's also positive. Let's check for 0, the output is 0. Let's check for minus 9, the output is 9. So in ladder if condition, you can take as many as else if you want in the block. So the first will always remains if statement, the last will also remains else statement, but in between you can take 10, 12, 13, 15 else if statements as dependent on your situation. So this is how the ladder if condition will work. So we'll use ladder if when we have multiple conditions or the conditions are not related. So in this video, we have discussed about the if-else control statement. We have discussed two parts of if-else, the simple if-else and the ladder if. In the next part, we'll discuss about the switch statement, which is another example of the conditional statement. So that's all for this video. Thank you for watching this video.